The GTA market is now in major excess supply territory. This is the largest gap we've ever seen between active listings versus number of sales ever. You've probably noticed it. Listings inventory keeps going up, sales are sliding down, and everyone's wondering, is this the start of an even bigger crash to come or just a mini dip? So let's dive in. The average sale price last month in the GTA was around 1.05 million in October, and that's down 7.2% from a year ago. Sales are also down about 9.5%, as only 6,138 occurred. Now listings are up about 3% year over year, and this is where the problem begins. This is the storm that is approaching. Even if no more listings came on the market in the next 4 months, at this sales volume, we still couldn't sell every active listing in that time frame. It would take 4.5 months to do it. And did I mention this is the largest gap we've ever had between listings and sales? So it's not just hitting certain areas evenly either, right? The areas getting hit the hardest are the suburbs of Peel, Durham, Halton. All of them are seeing more than a 25% drop in value from their peak prices of February 2022. Durham is leading the charge at a value loss at 31%. Peel region, it's at 26.7%. Halton is at a loss of 25.7%. And York region has lost 22.2% of its value. In Mississauga, we are seeing detached homes, they're down 29% from the highs of 2022. So the COVID phase boom, where people were working from home, so areas around Toronto, they exploded in value, right? Though the economics for a lot of those areas never justified those prices getting that high. So the areas that exploded in value then, well, they're obviously now the quickest to fall too. And because of this, sellers will have no choice but to undercut one another if they actually want to sell. This is why I'm concerned about the value of homes falling further. It's almost a given at this point, right? Because when you have sales falling and listings rising, you don't need to be a mathematician to see the problem, right? What do you think in the comments is going to happen with the market? I would love to hear it. Now, we also need to bring up the fact that this huge gap of sales versus listings is happening at the worst time for homeowners as well, because we are approaching the winter months where activity cools historically and prices always get a bit lower regardless if we're in a hot market or not. So buyers are in a great position right now. You can throw lowballs around. You just need to do it in a non-disrespectful manner. So one idea would be typing up offers with, a letter attached to them explaining the lower price, using comps and economic factors into the discussion. Without giving a letter, without context, it's like slapping them in the face and expecting them to just accept your offer, right? So you're going to need to cushion the punch. So we actually just got buyer clients of ours a home for $160,000 under asking. It was listed at 1.2 mil. We got 160,000 lower. It took 5 days to get the deal done, but there are opportunities out there. But the weird thing is that at times you could swear that there's two markets happening at once. So you've got turnkey homes that are still pulling multiple offers and selling firm, and then you've got thousands of listings just sitting stale, price change 3 times, still no bites. So what we're really seeing across the GTA is a good old fashioned game of tug of war. Sellers are anchored to last year's prices. Buyers are staring at this month's sold prices, and neither side is blinking. And that's why the market feels so slow. And it's not because there's no activity, but it's because there's no agreement on value. So we should continue to see further softening of prices. And it's going to push us further into a deeper buyer's market. Now, I'm also seeing other realtors compound the market problems too. I think half the problem going on right now is like bad advice, because I'm seeing a lot of homes that were originally listed at like 1.3 million. So they sit on the market for 2 months. Then they price adjust to $999. Then they hold offers. Then an offer night, when you've got all these people that are coming in thinking, okay, maybe it's reasonably 1 mil, 1.1. No, they say, we won't take less than 1.3. What the hell, right? And so That's not strategy, that's confusion. And this is also leading to buyer fatigue, right? People are showing up ready to write offers, and then they realize that the listing price was never real in the first place. And so what ends up happening is the market slows down. And let's be real, this hesitation isn't just emotional, right? Every week we've got in the news trade tensions, right? Things going on, right? With China, with the US, right? I don't even know if I'll be able to buy a bourbon again next year. This massive deficit bill being debated in Parliament right now. And it's no wonder that buyers are cautious. But back to this uncertainty, in moments like this, many simply wait on the sidelines. But those who don't wait, right, the buyers that feel like they've finally got an opening at homes, they can upsize with less stress. Buyers are quietly getting amazing deals if they find a reasonable seller. And if you're buying right now, you've got to just be a little bit smart, right? So one way to be smarter is I'm seeing a lot of people see homes on weekends where it's the busiest time of activity. So don't go house hunting on the weekend when most buyers are out there viewing homes. Go midweek instead. If you find a place you love, you're going to have time to negotiate a great deal. When you're the only offer, you've got leverage. Weekend offers, that is the easiest way to get yourself into competition. And sellers are always way more optimistic on weekends too. I mentioned this in my How to Save Money as a Buyer video. Watch that and you'll save thousands when you move. But for sellers, this is not the time to get greedy or emotional. Overpricing will hurt you more than it used to. And if you need to sell, you might want to do so sooner than later because of where the market is trending, right? And pricing it right is so important because when you price your property and it sits for 30 plus days, it's not just the algorithm that punishes you, it's the perception, right? Buyers assume something's wrong and you lose negotiation power. So you need to list closer to what the data says. And when you hire someone, they need to know how to negotiate as well because you're only going to get one shot to make the market believe your price is accurate. Now, heading into winter, historically, November, December are the slowest months of the year for sellers. There's low demand, there's less emotion in the market, people are getting prepared for holidays, and so there's fewer showings, right? It's cold out. But it also makes it one of the best times to buy because everyone who's still selling during the holidays is obviously pretty motivated to sell. So you can get more flexibility on price, conditions, even closing terms. But condos are a completely different story, right? So the prices there in that sector have just been sliding. They're really down, right? So if you're a first-time buyer and you're interested in the condo lifestyle, this is a real opportunity for you, right? This isn't an opportunity for people to get into investing in condos, I don't think, right? And you would never want to flip one. You want to buy something that you're going to live in for at least 2 years so the market rebalances and you're okay. The pre-construction condo market, however, is a ghost town. So there's no sales happening, like under 50 a month. So builders, they can't sell the units at the prices that they need to get, right? For buyers, there's too much risk with appraisals. There's too much risk of having your deposit locked up in a project that might not even ever break ground. So don't think of going that route. That would be a terrible idea. It's interesting because we've kind of come full circle, right? Many years ago, even during the COVID phase, right? Buyers were terrified of missing out. They just had to get a home. And now they're terrified of overpaying, right? And so the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. But I think the next few months will come down to two things: consumer confidence and policy clarity, right? So if Ottawa actually gets serious about housing incentives and the economy stabilizes, you'll see buyers jump back in activity, right? But I wouldn't count on that happening. I think sideways and downwards market, that's likely lasting deep into the spring. The federal government recently announced that they're going to try to help buyers out by saving on the tax on new builds. But I think people don't understand that you've got a resale market and a new build market, right? And that any savings that a buyer can get on a new sale, that will just get absorbed by the greedy developers and they will just charge more so it's even with the resale market values, and they'll just take that profit themselves instead of the government getting it as a tax, right? So this is the problem when you have all this red tape and taxes and you try to manipulate the markets. Unintended things can occur. You know, if you want to look at helping people out, the government has got to start with the land transfer taxes, which are a huge reason, and it's a huge hurdle for buyers, right? They should either reduce even further or take away the land transfer tax for first-time buyers completely, and they should reduce the land transfer tax for all buyers. It is crazy in this country that the same property that pays yearly property taxes also has to have the buyer pay a land transfer tax that can be tens of thousands of dollars. Let's say if a home sells 4 times in 40 years, that home is a cash cow for the government. It's insane, right? In Ontario, you know, many homeowners rely on their home values so much for their wealth, right? Many of you watching, your wealth for the most part might be tied into your home's equity, right? It could be how you retire. It could be their emergency fund for your family. So the federal and the provincial government, they're always going to try their best to prevent a crash to the market. But by the numbers, it looks like we're already in one, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon, right? I am seeing bank sales everywhere. You might have seen my video a few weeks ago, but 5 years ago, there were 5 of them in October 2020 in the GTA, right? Last month, we had over 472 bank sales that came on the market. And people are downplaying this, but it's a big problem. And it's also setting the price for certain streets, right? And talking with mortgage agents, they tell me there's many more to come as people are battling with paying the bills. People who bought additional homes with the equity of their primary residence, and the numbers don't work anymore. People bought homes they couldn't afford, right? People bought homes and lied about their finances, right? And these things are all contributing to it. So it's pretty doom and gloom looking as things are going downwards. But you know, the good news is buyers finally have choice. Sellers, they have to adjust, right? But if you would like advice on your real estate situation or want help buying or selling across the GTA, I would love to chat with you and help. Book a chat with me in the description and subscribe for more videos, and take care.